All right, we're back live at the Passing Show on Harrowings Live with Hal Gill, your host. We're looking at a Viking lander. It's a direct, identical copy used to test how landers respond to various radio commands. Talks about how Carl Sagan helped select the landing sites and plan the Viking missions, and he articulated the excitement of space exploration to generations of Americans from the 1970s to 1990s through his PBS television series Cosmos in 1980 and his appearances on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, engaging writings and books, bridge the gap between science and the public. And, this is just an amazing piece of engineering for 1976 when we first landed there. Actually, the launch date is in 75, landing date July 20th, 1976, and then September 3rd, 76. Remember it like it was yesterday. Then we have Spaceship One right above us, the Bell X-1, an Era Comet, one of our first military jet aircraft. And there's some Russian rockets, I believe. And over here, Lunar Module LM-2. This one represents one of humanity's greatest achievements, landing people on another heavenly body. And between 69 and 72, 6 lunar modules, identical to this one, landed 12 American astronauts on the moon. This one never flew in space. It was built for testing in low Earth orbit, but was actually used on Earth to measure the LM's ability to withstand the forces of landing on the moon. It was configured as LM-5, Apollo 11's lunar module, Eagles. So pretty much identical to the Eagle. Chips used in Apollo guidance produced by Philco Ford Company at a plant in Lansdale, Pennsylvania. Before 1964, most integrated circuits were marketed to aerospace and defense customers. You can see there how that integrated circuit or silicon chip was among many innovations on the module's onboard computer. Doesn't tell me how much power it has. It does pick out that women were chosen for their manual dexterity to do the delicate work of attaching lead leads on chips. Each contains 6 transistors. Since 1960s, the number of transistors contained on a chip has doubled about every 18 months. Modern chips contain billions of transistors. There you have a Grumman technician, Ken Crow, attaches the commemorative Apollo 16 plaque to LM-11 Orion after the ascent stage carried back the 2 moonwalkers. That they so the LM remained on the moon. So, it's quite historic. In the module LM-2, the space race they're talking about here, pretty much similar information. A moon rock. We have a little piece of the moon you can touch here. The crew of Apollo 11 brought this sample back to Earth on December 1972. I remember having a friend of mine touching it when it used to be over there, sort of in the center. And
Do you want to do this?
Got to touch it, right? Little shard of the moon. Let's go and look at what it is. This particular little piece there, after it was cut, museum's touchable sample is the triangular portion of the left labeled with a star, and you can see it there. And it is cut from a larger piece of basalt, iron-rich volcanic rock found in the valley of Taurus Litro. Yeah, my friend Daniela was touching that rock one time. I got a photograph of her as I turned back and looked with her mouth agape. She just couldn't believe she was touching the moon. And, that we get to do that now. There's some space probes above us. Lunar orbiter, photographic system, engaging the intelligence community. They use 70 millimeter cameras similar to those used by Corona spy satellites. NASA worked with professionals experienced in it, but closely examining satellite imagery. And 67 working with the intelligence community created lunar orbit charts from lunar orbit photography. So, so it goes. Oh, let's see. They've opened this area up again. So much that was open isn't. Thomas, we all fly, Wright brothers. This is a NASA spacesuit, it looks like. Can check out how that works. And yeah, we're just going to keep on moving. There's the Star Trek Enterprise over there, this very model that was seen in all those lovely Star Trek episodes over the years. Studio model. I used to just obsessive this thing. I was a kid. Space mural, a cosmic view. All right. Bell X1 again, first plane to break the speed of sound. And what I'm missing is, used to be, they still got part of this blocked off. Pity. Here's the IMAX theater. Jaws 50 in IMAX. T-Rex, Deep Sky, The Blue Angels, Space the New Frontier. Prince, Sign of the Times, August 29th. Well, that'd be fun. It's tomorrow. All right. Yeah, where's the Spirit of St. Louis? They've got one of our Avengers. Recognize it instantly. From World War II. Carrier-based torpedo plane. George W. Bush flew one of those and got shot down. Oh, I don't know. And we got World War One back here. Okay, World War One aviation. There's the Spirit of St. Louis. I knew I could find it. Oh, and check these out. That one, I don't know this plane. Where are the labels for them? This one, though, is an albatross, I believe, from one of the flying circuses. I don't see its labeling either. And B. Oh, it's over here, I think. Hang on a second. We'll come back to World War One aircraft later. I go check out the Spirit of St. Louis for power. Ooh, something interesting over there. Is that a Harrier? Looks like it might be a Marine Corps Harrier. Friend of mine flew one of those in the Gulf War. Yeah, this is the Albatross DVA. High scoring German aces achieved most of their victories while flying Albatross fighters. I had a model like that was, one of those you fly by wire. One model didn't work very well. Never could get it really to fly well. It's not a disappointment. December 17, 1917, we know this Albatross saw combat during restoration, found that a bullet had passed through the right machine gun mount in the emergency fuel tank before stopping in the engine. Likely never flew again as the fuel tank had not been repaired. They were a tough lot. We used scrapping with them for a half an hour and they would not go down, although we were above them most of the time. James McCudden observed of the Royal Flying Corps. There's record counting 1917 aerial combat against those. This one is a Voisin Type 8, oldest surviving aircraft specifically designed as a bomber. Early 1917, shortly after entering the war, the United States purchased the Voisin through the American ambassador William G. Sharp, intended for technical review. The Type 8 was already outdated by the time the United States received one. The best used night bombers attack enemy rest camps and factories. Here, though, the hits made are nil. It renders sleep for soldiers impossible. It compels the turning out of factory lights, stopping night work. There it is. Of the 1,100 Type A's produced, this one entered into service in November 1916 and is the sole survivor. Yeah. Not a lot to it. Okay, World War One. We'll come around. We're going to make a quick pass. Strike aircraft. Showing the evolution. This film. I remember this exhibit. It hasn't changed a lot. Sopwith Camel. I believe. It's just a machine. Twin machine guns was hard to beat. 1917. Breaks the bar here. It's got some designs back over here. The kind of equipment that was being used. The race to get here. American Bacher. Other side there. So I say, but pilots became powerful figures fighting the war and being defending their theories. The most famous pilots it's impressive. Bottles. And we're out. So if you happen to be along for the ride, we are in the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. We're looking at the back of an X-15 experimental rocket plane that took some of our astronauts and other test pilots up to the fringes of space. North American X-15, yes, indeed. Not detailed here, but I can see. But there's the Spirit of St. Louis. Something I've marveled at since I was a little kid. I share a birthday with Lindbergh, February 4th, and much earlier than me, of course. Pardon me. It was built in 2 months based on a Ryan M2 monoplane. The Spirit was customized for Lindbergh's transatlantic flight with advanced instruments for its day. It carried extra fuel tanks for nonstop trips, and the engine was moved forward for balance, and the cockpit was moved back for safety. Small rudder made the aircraft hard to fly, but it kept Lindbergh alert during the 33 and a half hours flight. You see that small rudder on it there. There's Black Wings. American aviators take flight. First took around the world, the Army and the world cruiser, Chicago. This 2-seat biplane proved an aircraft could survive a global trip. Had increased fuel and cooling capacity, tubular steel fuselage. Prototype plane cost $23,721. From torpedo bomber to world cruiser. So it goes. I could really dive into these things a lot deeper, but it's always something. It hurts. Streamlined designs. Spaceship One over there. Nice aerial view. Planetarium entrance. ticket holders. There's the LEM down below. This way, again, take another look at the Spirit of St. Louis. And pioneers of flight. The Lockheed Vega 5B. Really Earhart. Smithsonian acquired it in 1966. Earhart had sold it to Philadelphia's Franklin Institute in 1933, the year my father was born. Its top speed was 185 miles per hour. She made 2 pioneering flights in this plane, nonstop alone across the Atlantic Ocean and across the United States. In 1932. Another one of those racers over there. Crossing the Atlantic.
Take it up. I'm going to stand in with the. Okay.
Pioneers of Light. Lockheed Model 8 Sirius. The Lindberghs made 2 overwater trips. And a low-wing monoplane there. Pontoons let it land on water. A sliding canopy protected the cockpit from weather. Plane was damaged on the 1931 Asian flight and repaired. It gained a Sperry artificial horizon, directional gyro, and Gaudy drift indicator for a European survey flight in 1933. Smithsonian acquired it in 1960. So that's a really fantastic exhibit. There's Destination Moon is down here, and I probably ought to take a look at that. I did sort of miss looking at the Mercury and the Gemini as I was going over to the LEM. We'll go back down shortly. Time is 3:59. 28% power. 10 of you along for the ride. Thank you for joining. Doesn't look like the same crew as last time. You know, the part of the passing show is just to bring you a little who, what, when, and where, a little raw journalism. And, got a lot of different people coming together. There's a marvel at the collections here. There's a trimotor. He got the Ford trimotor, if I'm not mistaken, from American Airlines, and then fly Eastern Airlines. DC-3, I think. TWA down below. A lot of different aircraft. Below that, can't identify that one off the top. At DC-3, I got that right. Boeing D-47D, the world's first modern airliner, revolutionary transportation, and entered service in United Airlines in 1933, the year of my father's birth. Ford trimotor was noisy but reliable. Air travel safe. Introduced in 1930, the Northrop Alpha over there for TWA. Transitional aircraft design, old and new technology. And Fairchild SC2. And the Hofdallen Duster. First crop dusting. Pardon me? I don't see the crop duster, but sort of the truth. Oh, there's it in front of me. There it is. Hofdallen Dusters Incorporated, Monroe, Louisiana. Here we have an aerobatic type, U.S. Air Force Talon, T-38A, flown by my friends, I believe. This is Destination Moon, and it's across the galaxy, other worlds. Exploring the planets. Okay, well, we'll explore the planets some other time. I don't feel like doing that right now in low power. Destination Moon, the exploration continues. There's some lunar samples, but we're going to go in the entrance to it and down the escalators, get all down and take a look at the Mercury and the Gemini capsules that I sort of skipped over. So every cent spent is a vote for the kind of world we are co-creating. We have done these things. There's a X-Wing fighter mock-up up there. It's pretty impressive. Yeah. The moon. Fantasies of travel, first moon movie. Shooting for the moon. The Soviets reached the moon first with Luna 1 in 1959. They managed to hit it. Alan B. Shepard went up and this Mercury capsule Freedom 7. And if this was possible, fixing in the Shepard suit to space is a possibility. Close fitting 2-layer full pressure suit. Imagine cramming yourself into that and flying. He became the first American to fly into space in the capsule on May 5th, 1961. It only had 2 small portholes. Once beyond the atmosphere, Shepard looked through a periscope, which extended from the side opposite the hatch. He used small thrusters to adjust the capsule's attitude in space, and the nose also had a parachute and antenna canister, along with a retro rocket strapped to a heat shield or discarded during descent. Diameter 6 foot and 2.5 inches. Its weight currently is just over a ton, 422 pounds over a ton. It's tiny. It went, I believe, just into suborbital flight. There's a list of the missions. Suborbital. Gus Grissom went suborbital. 15 minutes only. Then the others went into with John Glenn first and Scott Carpenter, while Shira Laurie Cooper. Laura 1 satellite being mentioned. And then here we have a Gemini. This one, Gemini 4. Edward White, helmet, lost in Apollo. His handheld maneuvering gun. Umbilical. Chest back for ventilation control. Checklist for Michael Collins and Gemini 10. Learning rendezvous in space. Gemini missions. Gemini 7. Discuss here. Mercury's big brother. This one. Live in space. This is so big. This is Gemini 7. Borman and Lovell spent 14 days in this cramped cockpit from December 4th to the 18th. Primarily was medical, endured experiments regarding food waste and sleep. Also served as a target vehicle for Gemini 6A during the world's first space rendezvous. They flew in tandem. Yep. It's a tough one. Columbia. Apollo 11's command module. Only part of that expedition to return. But there it is, in the flesh. Its components are detailed here. Showing the applicant materials form the heat shield. The tunnel. I can navigate the interior there. Michael Collins. I knew I was alone in a way that no Earthling has ever been before. It's chronograph. Vegas Speedmaster. Michael Collins is in flight coverall garment. Checklist. Spent the entire trip in there. Columbia. The Apollo 11 command module. There it is. Being picked up onto the USS Hornet shortly after recovery from the ocean. Spacecraft was still covered with the remnants of the reflective tape scorched by the heat of re-entry. Amazing. Hale Armstrong. On the other side of this, I believe I'm going to find. Yeah, Armstrong's moonsuit. I think he left his base there. I'm not mistaken.
Aqui, ó. Tirou ele, tá bom. Vai, olha aqui, vai ser os dois. Tem outro, então tá. Vai.
Armstrong passed away 13 years ago, the 25th of August. It's A7L, lunar spacesuit. First spacesuit on the moon. It's basically a form-fitting spacecraft. It allows him air to breathe, protected him from temperature extremes, radiation, and high-speed meteoritic particles, and allowed him to communicate with others. A7L was the seventh version of the Apollo suit, built by ILC Industries in Delaware. It is displayed with Armstrong's lunar exploration visor assembly and extravehicular gloves. After an X-15 rocket plane flight in 1960, he commanded Gemini 8, first successful docking in space. And as the 11 commander, he made the first moon landing with Buzz Aldrin, and the first human to step on the moon. There's Buzz Aldrin on the moon, reflected in his visor as Armstrong, taking the picture as well as part of the lunar module Eagle. Sorry for the photo. That's kind of astonishing. You can see Buzz's shadow. It's backlit from the sun. E. Aldrin was still alive. It's still with us. They're surprisingly fragile. It's been conserved. Armstrong's life support backpack is still on the surface, along with his lunar overshoes, which made the historic first footprints. An hour or two after their walk, Armstrong and Aldrin opened the hatch and discarded these items along with others to reduce weight for their launch the next day. Kickstarter was used to crowdfund the conservation of Armstrong's spacesuit there. Man, can you imagine traveling in that thing? I can't figure out how to manage. There's a mock-up of the Saturn V. It's the remnants of one of the engines, apparently. And the piece parts thereof. We're covering and preserving F1 parts. Amazing. Lunar rover. Not a visible lunar rover, right? Television cameras. I know I'm whipping you through the exhibit, but just what it is, but yeah. Overshoes. Gene Cernan brought his back. Those actually left footprints on the moon. made the last footprints on the moon when he stepped off the surface, and they retained traces of lunar dust. Wonderful. A good way to wrap it up. I don't think we really ought to be sending people up there. Still.
Not too bad.
I think we've done it. But proved we can do it. No reason to risk anybody else's life on that. When we can use our robotic avatars to travel for us and risk them versus our life and limb, which is harder to repair.
Nothing.
Place. Okay. Down to 20% power. So I'll be cutting out soon so that I can serve, get home in one piece. Gonna take a look first. So at the two capsules below, we have a Mercury and a Gemini. I think the Mercury may be the one that John Glenn flew in. John Glenn went on to be a senator and to fly on the space shuttle, which is quite remarkable. Did he go to the International Space Station? I don't know. Don't think so. Wright brothers, original flyers over there, 1903. The Wright brothers figured out how to fly. That's heavier than our flight. And just 66 years later, we're walking on the moon, having arrived in that vehicle. See its ascent engine in the back. Can you imagine blasting off on the moon? We did it at least 6 times. Oh, exactly 6 times to be precise. By Wilbur and Orville. How did these two seemingly ordinary bicycle mechanics working nearly alone with little formal scientific training solve a problem as difficult as figure out flight? They invented a successful airplane quickly and with little help. Might suggest sheer genius. Well, they didn't answer all the questions there. Reeling is just like flying. So there's the Wright flyer, conserved. Wasn't a lot left, I think, at the end of the day, but the Smithsonian has been having it for a while. This is the real Wright flyer, though. And it was the fabric covering was replaced by the museum in 1985, hence the newer appearance. 1985. I hear it. Oops, sorry. Continuing to film the Wright flyer. And the Corona camera, similar to the one that captured the photograph of first takeoff, moment of invention. Tree Hawk. Been there a few times. I've tried to make sure that I share that with others and experience. I've always tried to be generous with my time. That way. And again, coming up on the back of a real LM, having dodged into the Wright brothers section. Ballooning. X15, X1. Some of the names. Catherine Johnson, one of NASA's first Black women mathematicians. LM2. A lot of people don't believe it ever happened, but I don't know about this, people. Oh, Gemini 4. It's here. We have Gemini 7 upstairs. 4 included 2. James M. McDivitt and White. Right. White left the capsule to the first spacewalk. After Alexei Leonov, of course, did something similar in 1965. Ed White's 21-minute excursion outside the capsule. It's only one of several Gemini 4 mission goals, rendezvous attempt, but it was most dramatic.
Non stavo in questi spazi così ristretti d'oro, guarda.
And then Friendship 7, John Glenn. We returned to space on Discovery. Discovery is now over in the Utvar Hazy Center, Northern Virginia. There's John Glenn's Friendship 7. We had little lunch boxes with these things on when I was a kid. Yep. Like, really captured the imagination. Heading out onto the National Mall. Hope you enjoyed the National Air and Space Museum here in Washington, D.C.
But it's tidy.
Got it, most of it. Break for the accent. Straight on across is the National Gallery of Art. I don't know what we're going to do exactly, how we're going to go. Met Brown, and I got a little ways to walk. I think I might take a ramp if there's one available. It's a ramp. Looks like it might be. I like ramps. Easier on the joints. So, the passing show is who, what, when, and where. Today you got a tour of Smithsonian American Air and Space Museum. Hirschhorn across the way. Running low on power. Gonna have to cut the power and head home. If I'm gonna make it without losing power. In some ways, it's nice to just walk without constantly talking to an audience. If I have one. I don't know. I just know how things seem to me. And I could be wrong. But I think this is really a beautiful monument to human ingenuity. And I've touched a piece of the moon. Again, touched that piece of moon a lot, actually. So, over the years, I remember taking my friend Daniela here, I guess it was 1995, around the time of my birthday. It was so damn cold on the mall. The wind was cutting through anything we were wearing. Blowing. We also did the National Gallery of Art. She took a picture of me at that Daniel in the Lion's Den by the School of Paul Rubens, cutting off Daniel. I was trying to ape it a little bit. We'd also gone to Virginia Beach on that trip. Spotted some whales. I don't know what all. But it's a nice memory. I was 32, my 32nd birthday. And I'd struck up a relationship with her that I would rekindle again 10 years later. And that's just not a good idea. Not quite 10 years later. I mean, a little over 10 years later. But anyway, life is like that. It keeps evolving. So someday, let's wait a second. Like having fun talking to you guys. I just relax under a tree. Quite a few elms. The Dutch elm disease, but some of them apparently are genetically resistant. Others aren't. They can do tree surgery to keep them alive. We have a witness elm over around the corner. Hirschhorn, not going to go over there. Bear off towards DuPont Circle. Really should cut this here. Yeah, 10 of you joined me. Thank you for that. If you have joined, consider becoming a paid subscriber. Certainly be continuing to do the work. And you can ignore it if you don't like it. That's what I do with all the emails I receive from Substack and I very rarely open them. There's not so much time we've got. But I'm trying to do what I can with kind of a raw journalism, a documentation of who, what, when, and where. In this case, we're at a point in history where the president has declared a kind of emergency power to put the National Guard out on the streets. And there are two of them right down here coming right at me. Walking the length of the mall.
Sweet.
Trying to make sure we're all safe. This one's got a relatively large automatic weapon. So we're going to document that. It's kind of important. Doesn't seem like many people are paying much attention. It's definitely a significant piece of armament that guy's carrying. I don't think it's entirely necessary. Kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
Get down to it. Really hope neither of them cracks up.
Yeah, I know you're not. Yeah, but yeah, cute.
Starts trying to nail people with that sucker.
I didn't know.
I want to make sure you see what I'm seeing, hear what I'm hearing. You know, they didn't ask for that job that way, but the president didn't. The United States has determined that this is a reasonable thing to do. Put those guys out on the street walking around as a show of force. Okay. Reminiscent of other militaristic regimes. And it's not what I really think of as our country, you know? If that was needed, it'll be fine. But it's not. It's really not, in my view, my opinion. Based on what I know, what I see, what I take in through this lens, what you can take in through this lens. If you see a good reason why you need somebody to be carrying a high-powered submachine gun, or well, I guess that actually was an assault rifle, let me know. 'Cause I'd like to know about it. Got a jet going into the national airport over there. You know, the ebb and flow of things. It's just run of the mill. Not much happening. Nobody really commenting on it. Certainly nobody challenging it. And it bothers me a bit that we're not. Apparently, we're all fine with it. For all the noise that's being generated in the media that would make you think otherwise, apparently we're just fine with it. Me too. I'm not going to get in the way of somebody who's carrying an assault rifle, that's for sure. Of course, you can point to the mass shooting that happened recently. Well, where was the National Guard then? They have means of monitoring our behaviors. We have an executive function in our prefrontal cortex. And if we know better, we do better. We're also got that primal drive to fight for our survival under any perceived threat. And we perceive threats all the time, it seems.
Right behind some.
Whether they're real or not is a totally different matter. All right. Enough for now. Thanks for joining. If you have 13% power, I probably can make it home on that.